Beautiful. So we're going to dive into the scriptures now. It's an interesting passage because I think as I've mulled over it over the last week or so, it's been interesting because I think there are similarities between this piece of expositional text and mothering, and you'll see what I mean in just a moment. Ephesians chapter 4 and verses 1 through 6. I'm reading from the ESV, so it'll be a little different if you are in a NIV on your phone or in a hard copy. I therefore, this is Paul writing, the apostle, he's in prison, so he says, I therefore a prisoner for the Lord. Interesting, isn't it? He's not saying I'm a prisoner because of the Lord, which he is. I'm not in prison because of you, which is also true. But he says, I'm a prisoner for the Lord. He understands his context through different lenses. He says, I urge you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling to which you have been called, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, eager to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. There is one body and one Spirit, just as you are called to one hope that belongs to your call, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is over all and through all and in all. I, therefore, Paul, a prisoner of the Lord, urge you. Okay, my love, I didn't prep you because I don't like prepping you because then you think. And I don't want you to think. So come up here, my baby, if you don't mind. Well, if you do mind, would you mind still coming up here? There is a story I often tell, but I thought it's better to hear it from Meryl rather than from me again. Because when T was about 3 years old, in our house in Diamond Bar, we had a fairly traumatic experience. And I want Meryl to tell you about the experience and to tell us what she did, because it feeds into this, as you will see in just a moment.
So, as Chris said, Tiana was about 3. We had an outside patio area, and we had a toy box, a wooden toy box, all his toys in, and it had like a gap underneath, the toy box. And we were at an elders meeting. He was out there playing, toy box open, playing with all his toys. And my mom sort of took him in for a nap. And he was napping when my mom went outside to sort of pack the toys away. And literally there was a rattlesnake that had been under the toy box and was just sort of, a little bit, she could see it. It was slithering out a little. So she called Chris. Anyway, that's another story. But what happened was...
And I was brave and courageous.
What happened was when I, obviously this was fairly traumatic, and I realized, wow, like he could have been bitten. Thank God for his protection. But I said to T, okay, boy, and I wanted to try and educate him about what to do if he ever saw a snake again. So I got on my knees, I held his hands, and I said, T, my boy, listen to mommy. If you ever see a snake, this is what you do. You stand completely still and you shout as loud as you can for mommy or daddy or somebody. And then you just back away very slowly if, we're not coming. And so I said, okay, boy, tell me. And I must have repeated it twice. And I said, okay, T, tell me what you do. And he says, I scream and I run away.
So here's your Bible, love. So basically, she urged him. This was a moment of profound urgency. Her mum actually took a photograph of the snake, which had eaten a few mice. We were told afterwards by the person who dissected them, because we killed it, was curled up where he had sat on his rocking horse before he went for his nap. I know because my study was next to it. And I went to an elders meeting, and he went for his nap, and the snake emerged. Now, the point is, this was a moment of high urgency. This was a moment where a mother had to communicate a life or death conversation with her 3-year-old, hoping that somehow this would land with him. So when I read this, I urge you, therefore, I remembered that story because that was Meryl on her knees, holding him, saying, T, I want to urge you. When this happens, don't scream, don't run away, stand quietly, walk back slowly. This is the heart, the maternal heart that Paul demonstrates here. I love the honesty of Scripture. In fact, Paul refers to himself as one who has, like is like a nursing mother. In 1 Thessalonians 2, 6 through 8, he says, "Nor do we seek glory from people, whether from you or from others, though we could have made demands as apostles." Here it comes. "But we were gentle among you, like a nursing mother taking care of her own children. So, being affectionately desirous of you, we were ready to share with you not only the gospel, but also our own selves," as Maddie said, "because you are very dear to us." It's a magnificent picture of a mother's heart. And the more I read this passage, the more the mother's heart, as we'll see, and I'll try and walk through it as quickly as I'm able to. Now, notice the difference that we'll see here, and this is more the fun of it all, to the psychological description of certain parental models. We became very aware of the helicopter parents, those who are always hovering. Always hovering. Kids can't play in the garden. We've got to let hover all the time. Others rolled their eyes and they just dug their heels in. Then the snowplow parenting we started hearing about. And those who would go ahead and make the pathway as easy as possible for their kids at a macro level. But then I learned this week about the lawnmower parents. Did you know that there are lawnmower parents? They are far superior to the macro parents because they run around nitpicking every little stone to make sure that little boysy girlsy never stub their toes ever, even by the tiniest little stone. I would say let them bleed. Kids have to bleed. They have to have knocks. They have to have bruises. Oh, that's not enough. We have the free range parents who completely reacted and let the kids just do whatever they want to. Wear whatever you want to, jump on whatever you want to, eat whatever you want to, and they don't know the disservice they do to their kids because life is full of boundaries. You can't just drive the way you want to on the road. You will hear wah, wah, wah in your rearview mirror, and there will be a friendly man and a woman in a uniform suggesting, by way of a letter, that you cannot just drive free range. We think it's cool, but we're actually not empowering our kids, although it's written as such. Then the tiger parents, those who are so demanding, your grades aren't good enough, I need you to study more, you've got to get more, what do you call them? Help me with those different classes. My kids have been out of school too long. AP classes. Push, push, push. You've got to do lacrosse, and you've got to do hockey, and you've got to tiger parents. And then lastly, the bulldozer parents. This was also a favorite I read. And they just bludgeon in. They just attack the coach. They attack the teacher. They attack the shop. Anything that might hurt their little Johnny or Sarah or whatever, they go in boots and all. Now, it's kind of fun reading it. It's a little more fun describing it, but it's super tragic living it. Because that's not in any way the divine picture of parenting, which Andrew is going to teach on in the summer. You're going to find out exactly how you parent, the Jesus way. As a parent who never makes mistakes, you're going to get it all from him. I feel Paul's deep love for these people when I read this passage. I sense him on his knees appealing to these young believers. I urge you, he says. There's an urgency in what he is saying. And then he uses two words, walk and worthy. Walk is a beautiful little word because it's not run, it's not chase, it's not bounce. It's take little steps. Every day take little steps in a way that's worthy, which we'll see in just a moment. The Song of Songs says, catch the foxes for us, the little foxes that spoil the vineyards, for our vineyards are in blossom. It's a great Middle Eastern metaphor. There's fruit on the vine. And the little foxes scurry along the vineyards, the walls, and snatch away at the fruit. And the writer, Solomon, says, be careful of the little foxes that destroy the vineyard. Now, can I tell you why I'm passionate tonight? I mean, I'm always passionate. But the more I studied this, the more I realized how key this passage is. Sometimes I've read it, 6 verses, kind of joining chapter 3 with a major part of chapter 4, which is all about apostles and prophets and evangelists. And I realized not at all. This is actually a deeply parental moment. This is Paul in prison, if he could, on his knees with these young believers, holding them in a city that was so overwhelmingly alien and pagan and materialistic, driven by the agency of the hour. And I think he wants to come to him, and he wants to urge everyone, you have to understand this, I think is what he says. So here are the questions. What are the little foxes that get you? I've written a few up on the screen. Is it lack of discipline? You finished the fast, you said, I'm going to get up every morning, and I'm going to pray, and I'm going to read the scriptures, and that was last Sunday. A lack of devotion. Jesus is a relationship. Meryl and I have been married 45 years. We've been together almost 50. If we want to be devoted, you live out devotion. You pour into, you sow into, you prioritize, you offer affection. Meryl's mum always used to squeal when her dad would walk past her and pinch her bum. And say, oh, Kenneth. And you could watch the kids with joy, the grandkids smile and giggle and elbow each other. So cute. That little pinch was a marriage of 60 plus years of devotion, 70 years of devotion. Little moments. We wonder why we lose our love with and for Jesus, because we lack devotion for him. Too easily we crash into sin. I read this morning, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. Too much time on our smartphones. And even, there are schools in Australia now that don't allow the phones at school. In South Africa, Meryl's nephew is the psychologist at a high school in Cape Town. And he managed to get the headmaster and the parents on board when the kids arrived. Now, this is a wealthy suburb looking out over the ocean. It is super expensive. And here these entitled, wealthy kids arrive at school. They've got a special cell phone locker. They put their phone in the locker, and they lock it, and they get it back at the end of the day. Is it a surprise that the grades have gone up? Absolutely not. Is it a surprise that concentration has galloped? Oh, absolutely not. Because even the marketplace is seeing the damage that a distracted eye causes. So the walk part is take little steps that matter, intentional steps that allow us to be men and women, as we will see in a moment. Secondly, worthy, not just walking little steps, but walking in a manner worthy. And it's amazing. Paul's doctrine says that we are to be worthy of the Lord, walk in a way that's worthy of the Lord, Colossians, of the gospel, Philippians, of God, 1 Thessalonians, of the kingdom, 2 Thessalonians, of your calling, Ephesians 4, which we'll get to in just a moment. Why is this important? Because I think when we live a life worthy, I think it's our highest act of worship. It's our highest act, more even than on a Sunday, lifting up our arms in worship. And I enjoy it. I enjoy getting into the worship. But when I live in a manner that's worthy of God, worthy of the Lord, worthy of my calling, worthy of the kingdom, that's my highest praise. When I get a smile from my Heavenly Father who's leaning over the balustrade of heaven and saying, Jesus, look at him. Look at him. He's living in a manner that is worthy of the gospel. He's radiating the gospel. It's also our highest act of mission, as we'll see in just a moment. So not only walk and worthy, but now we get to a phrase that is used twice in this passage. The one is called or calling, and the other is called or calling. I know. You have to have had my education to read that in the passage. Twice, Paul uses the same idea. Now let me explain it in the Hebrew, in the Judeo-Christian mind. And this is where I think it makes sense. The first calling is when God draws us to himself in intimacy and holy community. Calling number one. I don't just get saved to get a ticket to heaven. I don't just get saved because at a youth camp I put up my hand and I've been born again. I get saved when I'm drawn into intimacy with my Father and he engages me in holy community. It's a magnificent thing, as we'll see in just a moment. The second calling is that very specific and unique essence that He has called you and me to. Calling intimacy with the Father into community. The second calling is that specific, unique thing that He has called you and me to. So let's look at number one. In verse 2, it says, "You have been called with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, eager to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace." Little technical, I know, but bear with me. You know what I read here, guys and girls? I read what a new community smells like. One of the things that encourages me is when we have visitors, they invariably smile. They say, "Oh, we love this community." And then I want to scratch around and find out what they're really saying. It can't just be because it's young, because I'm here. So it can't be age. It can't necessarily be the cool worship, because we could have a good day or a bad day. But there's something they smell. There's something about the fragrance offering. There is something about a perfume, the purity that comes with a new community that is full of holiness, humility, gentleness, patience, bearing with one another in love, eager to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. I think Paul is saying, guys, this is the kind of community that reflects Jesus well into a broken world. I want you to get this. Smell it. Meryl's got a particular Laba fragrance, and I love it. When she puts it on, and there's a particular fragrance, a perfume, that when we are like this, that the world sits up and says, a woman was here on Sunday, a couple of Sunday nights ago, and Meryl hugged her, and she said, "Oh, Laba," and then gave the name of the fragrance that I never remember. It said, I can smell humility here. Oh, this is nice. This is good. This is good. Gentleness. Oh, this is good. This smells really good. Oh, there's patience here. We're patient with each other. There is the sense of bearing with one another in love. Oh, this is good. It's an invitation, dear friends. I think Paul is writing, and he's saying this is the kind of community that is so appealing to a world that is broken out there. In fact, he says in Philippians chapter 2, and he describes similarly, and he says, "Do everything," please listen, "without grumbling and arguing." When we grumble and argue, we just show off our immaturity. Look at how immature I am. I'm a grumbler, and I'm arguing all the time. I'm sarcastic. Look at me. And you put your immaturity on display. No, that's just the way we are. No, you're not. You're just very immature. So that you may become blameless and pure, children of God, without fault in a warped and crooked generation. Here it comes. Then you will shine among them like stars in the sky. The unbeliever walks in, and he's not beating you up about why God has created evil in the world. He's like, oh, no, this is good. Humility? Oh, yeah, it's here. Bearing with one another in love? Oh, no, this is here. This is good. This is good. How about comparison? Who doesn't want to belong to a community like that? Now compare that for a moment to a people who are proud and arrogant. Humility, pride and arrogance. One a stench, one a fragrance. Why is it we walk into where it's a political group or a business or whatever, and you walk in. I remember, many years ago, I just met Todd Proctor. Rock Harbor was about 7,000, just down the road here. And I met at Rock Harbor to go and have lunch. And I remember being somewhat in awe of Todd, because here's a man who led a mega church, and I looked at their church annual photo album because I didn't know what he looked like, and I couldn't see him. There wasn't the sit by the fire, "Hi, my name is Todd. This is Lisa, my wife, and we lead this church," the fireside picture. I couldn't find him. So a few months into our friendship, I arrived there one day, and a guy walks down the stairs from the offices, and he says, "Hi, my name is," I can't remember him, and he said, "Well, I'm the new youth pastor." And I thought, no, you're not. You're the ex-youth pastor. You won't make 6 months. Why? He didn't have that. There wasn't humility. There wasn't humility. I'm the youth pastor of a mega church. I thought, you won't stay. Can you imagine contrasting the two? A sense of aggressiveness and combatancy. Isn't that so different from gentle? What about impatient and sarcastic? I referenced, and I'm not talking about having fun and joking each other, but sarcasm that's got the edge, that's meant to injure, that's meant, oh no, I'm just joking. No, you're not. You're a freaking liar. You weren't courageous enough to speak the truth, so you hide behind humor and jab it in there. But everyone can smell. That's not humor, that's pure, affectionate, and affirming. Critical and gossipers, divisive grumblers, a home that is unsafe, unstable, and disruptive. Paul creates a different canvas, a canvas of harmony and beauty and goodness and unity, outworking of redemption. I don't know about you, but I want to be part of a community that's all about humility, don't you? Gentle, patient, bearing with one another in love, keeping the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. I want to be part of that. But the second expression of calling, and I'll be quicker with this one, is that heavenly calling that offers meaning, purpose, and divine destiny. If you are just an animal, if you just come from cells, you have no right to expect to have meaning. On what basis do you think life has meaning? You have no reason to have meaning beyond a shellfish in the ocean, a shrimp. You have no right to expect meaning, purpose, and divine intent. You're just a product of cells. Oh, we're not just about meditation and reflection or religious ritual. We are fearfully and wonderfully crafted by God for meaning, purpose, and divine destiny. Now, Paul speaks about this. He says, now live in a manner worthy of that calling. I was thinking about it this week. I had a young friend that I discipled. I led him to the Lord in the army. And when we got out the army, he was a swimmer. And it used to amaze me at what he told me they used to do at school. They used to go and swim for 2 hours in the morning before school. Then he would go to school, and then in the afternoon he'd swim another 2 hours. I say, Andy, how did you do that? I mean, that's just crazy. But you see, if I can take that metaphor and put it into this story, he is living in a manner worthy of his calling, quote unquote. Because he knew that if he was going to be a swimmer of any note, it needed at least 4 hours of swimming every day. Many want the calling, but they want it free. It mustn't cost me anything. It mustn't demand anything of me. I just want to be an Olympic quality swimmer, but it mustn't be worthy of my calling. We have a specific, unique, personally crafted calling that's one of the distinctives of Christianity versus Hinduism, Islam, Buddhism, atheism. It's one of our uniquenesses that we actually dare to believe that God fearfully crafted us with a very specific, unique, and personally crafted calling. But it's not a given, dear friends. Can I pull the age card here for a moment? And I am really not that far from landing, grandkids. Did you mind if I pull that? Do you know how many of my peers that I sit with, so many of them live with such sad hearts of what might have been, the dream that never happened, the calling that was never fulfilled, because something else was more important than 2 hours of swimming before school, 2 hours of swimming after school. Your calling does not guarantee that you will live in it. It just means you have it. I don't want you to be old. I say, well, if only. But actually hanging out with my mates and going drinking till all hours, that's far more worthy of my calling. No, it isn't. You and I both know that will come to an end. Or just sitting hours watching TV shows. No, that too will come to an end. Because there's something higher. Do you feel Paul's love for these beautiful people writing from a prison cell? Please understand, this is his heartfelt appeal. Live a life worthy of your calling. Not just your redemption in community, but of your unique, specific calling and what that costs. Honestly, and I won't bore you, but I sat there preparing this a few times. And I thought, wow. I remember getting a call. It was my mom's birthday. And the family was all going to be there. And my mentor called me and he said, listen, I need you to come with me to go and preach in Pietermaritzburg, about an hour away. And I knew I had a moment there. Oh, sorry, Dudley, it's my mom's birthday and we're all going to be together. Is that living a life worthy of the calling? No, not then. I'd say, Mom, Meryl's coming, the girls are coming, but I won't be. Because the calling's not sentimental. The calling is eternal. It's sacred. I'm not saying every time you choose that. Please don't not hear what I'm saying. But there are times when our calling needs something. I loved getting the stories. Rachel came flying past us as she was preparing for her half marathon. And she's one of the warmest, kindest, nicest people you'll ever meet. And Meryl and I out on a prayer walk, and Rachel comes flying past. She's not even looking at us. She is just like going flat out. Hey, Rach, it's us. I can't talk now. I've got another mile to go. And she's running, living a life worthy of her calling. She had to make her training by time X. It costs something. Your calling will cost something. And you have to find out in God what that cost is and be okay with it. Go back to Hong Kong after our Sri Lanka trip to spend a few days there, where God met with Meryl and I in a unique way and said, you'll spend the rest of your days abroad. And we knew that we'll never live in South Africa again. It cost something. That's my fatherly, and dare I say, a motherly appeal. Are you, is the question, living a life worthy of your calling? This isn't now me just appealing to good old Christian morals and virtues. This is way more profound than that. This is the ability to say, this is what my calling is, Chris, and I know this is what I have to pay for it. And I'm okay with that. I urge you to live a life worthy of your calling. That's why it's so passionate. When I'm sitting with Jesus, I don't know what heaven's going to be like, paradis is going to be like. But I don't know, can I just pretend for a moment I'll be peeping over the balustrade, kind of near Jesus? Well, I don't know if I'll be near him. But maybe I'll have one day in eternity that I can be like close to him. And just watching all of you, living a life worthy of your calling in holy community and in holy obedience. That's the invitation. That's Paul on his hands and knees as I come into land, where he gets the church shackled and chained, holding their face, saying, oh, I urge you. As a prisoner of the Lord, I urge you, live a life worthy of your calling. Would you pray with me, please? These are such beautiful moments, Lord. I feel no harshness in Paul's writing. I feel tenderness. I feel caress. What did Thessalonians say? just find it here. We were gentle among you, like a nursing mother taking care of her own children, being affectionately desirous of you. We were ready to share with you not only the gospel, but ourselves as well, because you've become very dear to us. I feel the affection of a father. I feel the sense of anticipation of your futures, what God has lined up for you. Every one of you is more ahead of you than I have. But I feel the fatherly apostolic affection saying, come on, let's go and live a life worthy of this calling. You will shine like a star in the sky. You'll be so different. The perfume of your life will be so remarkable. Heavenly Father, I do thank you for this extraordinary community. I'm so in love with her. And these moments are both hard and easy for me. Hard because I know they're challenging words, but easy because they can impact the rest of their lives. These are not flirtatious moments, they are transformative moments. Can I give you a moment to just consider what I've said? You don't have to agree, but would you consider for a moment what this text says to us? I urge you, live a life worthy of the calling, holy community, and sacred assignment.
Thank you for listening to the Genesis Costa Mesa podcast. To find more information about our community, feel free to visit our website, www.genesiscostamesa.com, or find us on social media at Genesis Costa Mesa.